Hi, I'm Dana, you're watching Life, Love, and Books, and I'm wearing a sweater even though it's too hot for it because I wish it was sweater season. And today, I have a question for you. What's your favorite book? You know, that one book that just is better than every other book. One book that just blew your mind. That one book that you recommend to everyone. Now, if you're like me, you get the question, so Dana, what's your favorite book? Quite often, because I do, and it's the worst question ever to get because I never know how to answer it. So I've devised a way to figure out who to tell which books to, because I have lots of favorite books. There are more favorite books than are in this video. Like, I don't have just one day in this video, but that is one of my favorite books. These are books that I typically recommend to people, because usually when people say, so Dana, what's your favorite book? What they're really saying is, so Dana, what should I read? So, depending on who's asking, I usually have very different answers for this question. So let's say I'm talking to my English teacher, and they ask me the question. Do I panic? So I say, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Usually this is when I want to impress someone. And I usually want to impress my English teachers. I want them to think that I'm like this really smart, sophisticated, well-read person, especially when I first meet them. So I'll tell them The Great Gatsby. Now, The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books. It's not like I'm lying. But I don't usually bring it up in conversation with people who aren't teachers, because I get two responses. Oh, I had to read that for English one year and I hated it. Or, did you see the movie? Wasn't it great? To which I have to answer no. I did not like the movie. The book was better. You should read it. And then you get the response, I don't read. So, The Great Gatsby if I'm talking to an English teacher. Now, the next book I have is for if I'm talking to one of those pretentious people. One of those people who thinks that reading tea makes them better than everyone. And one of those people who are like, YA is for children who don't understand great literature. For those people, I'm usually going to say Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I absolutely love this book, and it's on the more pretentious side. It's a book about success and how to be successful, except not really. It's a book about why people are successful, not how to become successful, if that makes sense. But it's a very, very good book, and if you're talking to one of those pretentious people, they will respect the heck out of you for reading a Malcolm Gladwell book. Now, if I just can't get a read off of someone for some reason, I'm going to say Harry Potter. Now, this is because Harry Potter is always a common ground, and then you can usually work your way into better recommendations if you know what their opinion on Harry Potter is, and you can usually build off of it to talk about other books. So, say you mention Harry Potter, and they really like fantasy, and you can just tell by the way they're talking about Harry Potter, what they really like about Harry Potter is the fantastical elements, the different world and the different people, and probably the good versus evil thing. For those people, I'm gonna say Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is my favorite fantasy novel because it's absolutely fantastic, and it's good, and it's great, and it's fantastic, and this book just so good. Sarah J. Maas is a master wordsmith. It's, oh, how many times can I say it's good in different ways? It's great. You should read it. And for people who love fantasy, I'm obviously going to recommend a fantasy book like Throne of Glass. Let's say when I mention Harry Potter, I get the vibe that they were more into science fiction. They liked it, but they wished Harry Potter had more of a grounding in science. For those people, I'm going to say Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This book is a futuristic book full of androids and science and whatnot. Our main character, Cinder, is a mechanic. She is the best mechanic in New Beijing, so it's definitely more rooted in scientific facts than fantastical elements. So there's no magic, it's science. And even like the powers in this book are science-based, kind of. But let's say that they just liked the characters in Harry Potter. They weren't so much a fan of the fantastical elements, they just wanted a down-to-earth fantasy-like book. Not fantasy-like, they're more of a contemporary person, you get that vibe. I'm going to recommend Looking for Alaska by John Green. Now, I'd recommend The Fault in Our Stars, but everyone has recommended The Fault in Our Stars the heck out of it. If you haven't read it, you've heard of it, or you've tried to read it, or you didn't like it, but you've heard of The Fault in Our Stars. It's been everywhere in the YA community recently. So, I recommend John Green's first novel. This is my favorite John Green book. It is probably my favorite contemporary book, and it just may be #1 on my top favorite books list. This book changed the way that I think about things. It's part of my testimony. It's such a huge part of my life, and I read it like 16 times or something completely ridiculous. It's so beat up. I've underlined my favorite quotes from it, and I just love Looking for Alaska, and it's perfect for that someone who likes contemporaries. And it's a darker contemporary, but there are kind of some romance, just a little bit. It's not the best romance, but there's a little bit of romance in there. And I think it gives people a taste of more John Green than The Fault in Our Stars. The next book I have is for the person who doesn't read. For people who are like, oh, I saw the movies for Harry Potter. I didn't read the books. Or they're like, I tried to read them, but I don't read. For those people, I'm going to say Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. This book is so much fun. It's so good. And it's so easy to get into. And it kind of has a weird beginning. But it's so weird that you just kind of stick with it and just see what happens as you go on. And it's really enjoyable. It's super fun. It has a great romance, in my opinion. It has secrets, and my favorite kind of tension in book is the tension that comes from secrets that can't be told for whatever reason. So it has that element in it, and I think it's really, really good. Now, if I'm talking to a boy, they're not going to pick up Rebel Belle, because the book is pink, the main character's a girl, and as much as I hate it, most teenage boys aren't going to be caught dead reading a book with this cover. And that makes me just a little bit sad. But if they're a boy who doesn't read, I'm going to recommend Infinity by Sherilyn Kenyon. This is Invincible by Sherilyn Kenyon. This is the second book in the Chronicles of Mix series. Infinity is the first, and you haven't heard me say it already. I don't own Infinity because I was poor in middle school, and I still need to buy a copy. This is one of my favorite series. It's so good. It's so underrated. Our main character, Nick, is hilarious. It's about zombies and demons and who knows what not. And it's fantastic, and it's great for a reluctant boy reader because it's super easy to get into. It's super fun. I'd also recommend it to girls who are one of those people who are like, romance sucks. I hate romance. Romance is the absolute worst thing to ever happen, ever. To one of those girls, I would also recommend Infinity because I think it's a great book for reluctant readers to get into. So those are my recommendations. So tell me what you would recommend for these people, from your English teacher to the reluctant readers. I'd love to know what your opinions are. Tell me in the comments. But for now, I'm Dana. You're watching Life, Love, and Books, and I'll see you next time. Bye!